Now at 10, a nation remembers the largest terrorist attack, which killed nearly 3,000 people 24 years ago. Plus, the city of Joplin marks the occasion at the National Guard Armory, and how the Pitt State ROTC marked the 24th anniversary of 9/11.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
24 years have passed since the September 11th terrorist attacks. For those who lived through the horrific day, the tragedy and hope live on. This is KOAM News at 10. I'm Tanya Bach. Memorial events were held nationwide today as the country remembers the nearly 3,000 people who died on September 11th, 2001. Jared Hill reports.
It's been 24 years since the September 11th terror attacks. A moment the nation will never forget.
We need to humanize what happened those 24 years ago.
Nearly 3,000 people were killed in the attacks after terrorists flew planes into the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center in New York, the Pentagon in Northern Virginia, and a field in Pennsylvania where those on board Flight 93 stopped another plane from attacking the U.S. Capitol.
This is the World Trade Center site right here.
In Alabama, Chris Thylacker is continuing to tell the story. He served in Iraq and Afghanistan after the attacks. Now he teaches high school.
It's one of those watershed moments in U.S. history. It must be taught. The patriotic side of it, the messy side of it. It's a great rallying moment for what we can achieve when we decide to work together.
That unity on display this week aboard the USS Intrepid in New York, where teams of volunteers prepared meals to send to local food banks in the spirit of that day.
We weren't red states and blue states. We were just human beings helping one another.
For some first responders, the physical and emotional impacts linger.
I have a chronic sinusitis that became 9/11 certified. We all have our own variation of PTSD.
Christina Stanton is a 9/11 survivor. She and her husband lived just 6 blocks from the Twin Towers.
We evacuated within seconds, that second plane.
Now landmarks like these are part of her route as a New York City tour guide.
Being able to verbalize and to talk about it is something that's soothing for me.
Well, yesterday, the FDNY World Trade Center Memorial Wall added the names of 39 members who died of illnesses related to their work in the rescue and recovery efforts at the World Trade Center. New York City Council members are also actively calling on Congress to pass the 9/11 Responder and Survivor Health Funding Correction Act of 2025. Well, Chief Meteorologist Doug Hetty joins us now with a first look at weather.
Well, it turned out to be a little bit of a hotter day for us today. High temps right around 90 degrees. And our overnights, they're going to warm up over the next few nights. It's going to be into the upper 60s to near 70 degrees every morning. Plus, on top of that, we're talking about 90s for the next several days. This means 90s for the weekend and really no chances for rain over the next week, which kind of stinks. So it's going to be dry across the region. Not much going on out there for us right now. Pretty much clear skies as we go through the overnight hours. Let me take you into Friday morning, starting at about 67, 68, 69 degrees. As we get into the afternoon, high temps right around 91, 92, 93 degrees. And what this means is it's going to be very warm for high school football. We're going to look at that and the weekend here in just a bit.
All right, thanks, Doug. Well, today across the 4 states, ceremonies were held honoring the heroes of September 11th. And we start in Joplin, where Army National Guard Armory on 32nd Street hosted an 9/11 remembrance ceremony honoring the first responders who sacrificed their lives. Salutes were rendered, the American flag presented, and a processional walk-by and moment of silence was observed for the victims of 9/11. The event featured a speech from Petty Officer First Class Brian Jones and a reading of the 9/11 timeline. The Baxter Springs Fire Auxiliary also marked the occasion with an annual event. The 343 Memorial Stair Climb took place today at the 24-hour Elite Gym next to Joplin's North Park Mall. Firefighters from 3 different states participated in this year's event, which showcases a stair climb for some in full gear, like the 343 New York City firefighters who died on 9/11. Missouri Southern remembered 9/11 with a museum poster exhibit called The Day the World Changed. The exhibit featured a book display as well as a 30-minute film sharing stories from first responders and a window washer who experienced the scene firsthand. One staff member says it's important these stories stay alive and are passed down to the next generation.
Working at my desk when news among my coworkers saying that, a plane had struck the World Trade Center. And of course, the whole library came to a stop, as the whole campus did. And so I'll never forget that day and where I was. This is a display from the 9/11 Memorial and Museum. In 2021, the library applied for and was awarded this display.
The exhibit will be on display through next week. The annual Patriot Day Remembrance began at 8 a.m. at Carney Smith Stadium in Pittsburgh. Cadets fired the cannon at the exact times of the attacks and collapse, and then took turns reading nearly 3,000 names of those who died. For every name, they dropped for a push-up. For one cadet, the tradition carries special meaning.
It means quite a bit to a lot of us. A few of us that are prior service, it's one of the main reasons myself why I joined the Army, to do my part for our country and as well as others.
Organizers say the impact of the event lives on long after the final name was read. Well, local Veterans Expo in Joplin connects former service members with benefits and resources they've earned. The event brings together agencies offering VA benefits, ID card services, and programs veterans may not know are available. Suicide prevention is a key focus, with groups providing outreach to those struggling. And veterans say having all services in one place eliminates long drives for help.
One of the main ones is there's at least two here today. The veteran suicide rate is pretty bad. It's pretty high, and we get the veteran who might be going through a trauma period involved with the groups that are here to help prevent suicide of veterans.
Special 9/11 remembrance was also held at the Armory flagpole at 9:30 this morning. The city of Chinook, Kansas celebrates the groundbreaking of a new fine arts center. That story's coming up. But up first, many were born after September 11th, 2001. How Generation Z in the 4 states weighs the impact of 9/11. 24 years ago, tragedy struck our nation as 4 planes were used in an attack against the United States. However, more and more people are entering adulthood who either were not born or were not old enough to remember that day. KOAM's Anthony Saviello speaks with them about how they approach today and the meaning it carries.
At only 25 years old and a part of this world's second youngest generation, there's not much I can say when it comes to remembering the tragic events of September 11th, 2001. That being said, I've made it my duty over the past several years to understand more and more about how these events shook a nation and shaped it for the next 24 years. So how do others in my generation remember the tragic events from 2001?
My mom's a teacher, so every time she talks about it, it's just like she was in her classroom and they all stopped their classes and turned on the TVs and just kind of watched it. And I feel like that's how my teachers explained it too, like in high school. But that's pretty much all that I feel like they've told me.
I wasn't alive during that time. I was born during 2002. But that happening a year before I was born has still affected kind of my life, right? It's affected how the country has been shaped since then.
It was such a disaster and like devastating thing that happened to our country, but also it brought people so much closer together and we were so united afterwards.
But can the same still be said today? In our world's current climate, when it seems we are growing further apart every day, how do we apply lessons learned from 24 years ago?
Even nowadays, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of differing opinions, different views, but that's the culture of still being united. I think is still a possibility that we should really seek more, especially in our generation as we grow up and we decide kind of what issues are important to us and what stands to take. It's important to remember that in the end game, we're all Americans and we're all here united in the sense that we all love our country.
Think about what brought the country together, and I think now, obviously, with Charlie Kirk and the school shooting that happened yesterday, I think people are still too focused on all like Charlie Kirk's views and the things he said instead of he was a father and a friend and a decent man, and I think people need to focus on the human aspects of life instead of just the political views or other opinions that whoever people may have.
In Pittsburgh, Anthony Saviello, KOAM News.
Memorials have been held around the nation today in remembrance of the 9/11 attacks. Well, Doug returns next with a complete look at your forecast. And a little later, Mercy Pittsburgh celebrates 1 year in the Southeast Kansas area. We'll have the details.
Well, it turned out to be a nice Thursday for us today. A little bit hotter outside. We've had such great temperatures over the past really 3 weeks. We haven't even hit 90 degrees since 3 weeks ago today. And now we're going to see the 90s over the next week. So summer is going to end on the summer side into the 90s for about the next 7 or 8 days. Also, not much in the way of rain chances. Not much going on out there for us right now. In fact, through the night into the morning hours on Friday, pretty calm. We may get a few clouds that kind of skirt through, but look at our temperatures, much warmer instead of upper 50s, lower 60s. We're talking about upper 60s to near 70 for overnight lows. Few clouds kind of streaming through. Here's the noon hour on your Friday. Let me take you into the afternoon. I think most of us 91, 92, 93, maybe a 94 across the region. So it's going to be hot on Friday. We're going to see this again on Saturday. We start upper 60s to near 70 degrees to kick off your Saturday. And then once we get into the afternoon, we're going to do it again. 92, 93, 94 degrees. Very consistent as we go through the weekend. All right, 69 to start, 88 by noon, high temp of 93 on Friday. So what this means for high school football weather, week 3 for some, week 2 for others, it's going to be warm. We're talking shorts, t-shirts, kickoff in the mid 80s, and even by the time the games end, it's still only going to be 78, 79, or 80 degrees, but at least the weather is going to be nice. So here's what's going on. Here's what's causing the warmer temperatures. So you can see this ridge of high pressure, and this is going to continue to build in and sit on us as we go through about the next week, meaning we're going to be hot and mainly dry. Look at this on Sunday. Lower 90s again if you're heading north Kansas City. Big Chiefs game at 3:25. Prepare to be hot. Temperatures into lower 90s. Very consistent again. Let's go into Monday. Much of the same. Temperatures low to mid 90s. Even on Tuesday, temperatures low to mid 90s. And really any rain kind of rotates around the region. So we don't see much in the way of action for precipitation as we go through about the next week. I do think we're going to see a few changes late next week, and then that will drop our temperatures and also give us some better chances for rain. All right, thankfully the humidity is not going to be too high, so our heat index as we go into Friday is about 2 degrees warmer than the actual temperature. So it's going to feel like mid 90s, and it will be the same as we go into Saturday afternoon. I think heat indices into the mid 90s. So we want to get this high pressure to break down because it doesn't do so over the next week. It kind of starts to sink off toward the southern parts of the plains once we get through next Tuesday. But I think it's going to be Thursday and Friday we start to get a system in here, and what that should do is drop in a cold front, bring our temperatures back down to where they should be or maybe even below normal by the time we head into next weekend. But for the next week, we're going to have to deal with the heat. 93 on Friday, 94 Saturday, 92 on Sunday. We hold into lower 90s as we go all the way through next week.
All right, well, a groundbreaking ceremony in Chanute, Kansas celebrates the future Me Family Fine Arts Center at Neosho County Community College. The current auditorium will be renovated and modernized with a new green room, scene shop, and gallery. The more than $5.5 million project has been supported through fundraisers and community donations. The lead donation for the Fine Arts Center comes from the family of Miriam Mee, a former instructor at the college. Her children say the center is a way to memorialize their parents and the impact NCCC has had on their lives.
It's a great source of happiness for us that we can do this. They were such wonderful parents. We want to honor them and their memory and their great contribution to Chanute and the surrounding area.
The Mee Family Fine Arts Center is expected to be completed by October of 2026. Mercy Pittsburgh is celebrating its first anniversary since becoming part of the Mercy Health System. Administrators say the past year has brought major improvements, including facility updates, new roofing, and fresh renovations. One of the biggest changes is the launch of Epic, a new electronic medical record system. The program links patients to the entire Mercy network, making it easier to schedule appointments, refill prescriptions, and communicate with providers through the My Mercy app.
I've been blessed to become the administrator here, and this is just the beginning for us. We've been with Mercy for a year, but our plan is to continue to grow to better serve this community. We want to be able to add additional primary care providers. We want to add additional OB providers. We're talking about additional cardiology.
Mercy Pittsburgh says the milestone marks just the beginning, with plans to add more specialists and ensure patients can get high-quality care close to home. Well, still ahead, the volleyball season continues to fill up the weekly schedule. We'll have highlights from some local matches this evening. And Pitt State is preparing for their home opener this Saturday against another ranked opponent. We'll hear from the team after this.
The gauntlet continues for Pitt State as they enter week 3 of the season. After battling top-ranked Ferris State on the road, along with top 20 Central Oklahoma on the road, the Gorillas take on number 3 Grand Valley State in their home opener on Saturday. After facing double-digit deficits early on in both matchups to start the year, Pitt State is focusing on starting fast. Head coach Tom Anthony says that it comes down to the players' mindsets entering games and is tweaking practices to have more of a game day feel.
We started slow, both games. And, like I've been stressing to our guys all week and after the game, you play really good teams. You can't spot them extra points, right? And so as you look back over those last 2 games, we're down multiple scores by the end of the first quarter. So that part we got to fix. The best part is then you watch those guys battle back, just chip away, keep fighting. And now we're right back in the games. To me, it's more restructuring practice to make it as much of like a game day kind of environment as you can.
All week, the coaches have been getting on to us about passion. So, Coach Ant changed the flow of practice and everything like that. Right out of stretch, we're doing good on good. So I think we adapted well to that. Practice have been going well. So just passion to start fast.
The Gorillas' offense took a step forward last week, totaling over 400 yards against the Broncos. But despite their success as a unit against Central Oklahoma, Pitt State believes they need to improve at finishing drives. And as they enter Saturday's matchup against the Lakers, the Gorillas are focused on executing at a higher level in the red zone.
I think one thing we've seen through the first 2 weeks is our offense has the ability to generate a lot of yards, right? Now, where do we have to get better at? We got to get better in the red zone. We got to finish drives with points, field goals, and touchdowns. Unfortunately, we had that, that interception there late in the game down in the low red zone. Another chance for us to put points on the board. But again, it's just we're generating yards. We're moving the football. Now we just got to finish with points, in the red zone.
The Gorillas return to the jungle against the Lakers on Saturday. Kickoff at 4 p.m. from Carney Smith Stadium. Volleyball season is in full swing with conference games getting underway across the 4 states area, with local teams locking horns on Thursday. Starting in Galena with the Bulldogs battling Southeast. Second set, Bulldogs with a lead and going on the attack, setting up their middle hitter, Weslyn Russell, who adds to that lead with this kill. But the Lancers aren't going away without a fight. Off the Galena serve, they're going to go to their outside hitter with Braylon Sutton, and she brings the power on this spike for the kill. Later in the set, Bulldogs going back to their girl in the middle, Russell once again. This time, she's going to find a hole in the defense with this touch for the kill. Galena with set point, looking to take a 2-0 lead back on the attack, connecting with outside hitter Riley Mayer, who seals the deal with this spike as the Bulldogs cruise to a win in straight sets over Southeast. Frontenac at home welcoming in Independence. Later, the Raiders leading 2-0. Bulldogs set it up for Caitlin Spencer, but Hadley Goodwin is right there for the block, and the Raiders get the point, extending their lead to 13-5. Next point, 2 Bulldogs dive for it. They keep the play alive, and they get it to fall, securing the point for Independence, cutting into the deficit. Frontenac looking to respond later in the set. Ellie Bloom teeing it up for Reese Franklin, whose powerful spike won't be returned. Franklin gets the kill. Raiders lead grows to 15-7. Frontenac looking to close it out. Brooklyn Condon looking to thread the needle in the far corner with her return, but it's just out of bounds. But it's the Raiders picking up the win at home over Independence, 3-0. It's the Pitt State Classic from John Lance Arena with the Gorillas taking on Maryville. Pitt State down 24-18 in the first set. They need a rally, and Maddie LaPointe jumpstarts the comeback, leaping and slamming it home for the kill. PSU has some life. Next serve, Vix Velat at the net. Her spike finds the floor, and the Gorillas trail by just 4. And they aren't done there. Next point, Velat's attack is returned, but Anna Dean keeps it alive, helping set the table for LaPointe, who secures another kill and the point for Pitt State. Maryville's Mallory Snell in great position to clinch a set for the Saints, but her attack goes straight into the net. Just like that, PSU has tied it up. A little later, they have the advantage. Jessa Wallace sets it up for Cassidy Nixon, who gets the kill. Gorillas come from behind to steal set number 1, and the Gorillas go ape in this one, defeating Maryville in straight sets. That's it for sports. We're back with more after the break.
Well, it looks like we'll drop back to about 68, 69 degrees later on tonight. It is going to be hot over the next few days. 93 on your Friday, 94 Saturday, 92 on Sunday. We're moving into the last week of summer. It is definitely going to feel like it. Really, I don't see any rain chances, or at least good chances, till late next week.
Ozark Christian College students and faculty traded the classroom for the community today. Each year, the college cancels class on 9/11 for its annual Serve Our City event. 500 students put down their laptops and picked up paintbrushes and yard tools, spreading out across more than 40 locations throughout Joplin and surrounding communities.
Public schools, we're serving the city of Joplin itself, doing some garbage cleanup, lots of nonprofit organizations, ministries, churches, so a big variety in the kinds of projects that our students are doing.
Organizers say the goal goes beyond the projects, giving students a chance to live out their faith and learn the value of giving over receiving. It's nice that they do that.
Yeah.
Final sports note?
We didn't get to it tonight, but the Royals had a lead, fall to the Guardians on the road. Ooh. Playoff hopes are dwindling even more with only 15 regular season games left.
All right. Didn't they need the Cards to win, though?
Cardinals were off, needed them to win last night, and the Cardinals lost, so not the best situation for the Royals. Got to go on a big winning streak if they want a shot.
That's right. Well, thank you for watching. We will see you tomorrow. Have a great evening and an even better Friday.